All right, welcome everybody. This is the Q1 quarterly product review for Elite, and as it relates to PR1 and eCom and all the other cool stuff we're doing. So in Elite itself, something that we've done recently is, and this is actually in support of um, consumer portal. And so what we have is we have event companies that want to collect money up front. Maybe they want to collect 25% of the rental at least 30 days in advance. And so in the parameters area of Elite, we've enabled this feature right here, which is already existing, to also work with this days to pay in full feature right here. So set up just like this. If a consumer went on the consumer portal to make a payment, it would be prompting for 25% of the total rental sale up to 30 days in advance. After the 30 days, it would be asking for 100% of the remaining amount. This also works in the Elite payment screen, and so an inside salesperson going through Elite would kind of get the same type of prompts to ask for a certain percentage in advance, certain number of days, and then 100% when it's less than those days in advance. Um, and this is really to support the event industry who likes to get a little bit of a deposit, so to speak, up front in advance of the event, just to secure it. Another thing we did is we supported the idea of being able to change job sites, but also be warned that, hey, you're changing a job site that is currently assigned to lots of other contracts. And so if I were to come in to say this job site, which I know is related to other contracts currently, and I would say I would go to change the address, it would give me this little notification that says, hey, this is on 8 active reservations or transactions. Are you sure you want to go ahead and do this? And so it's just to give you the idea that if you are messing with a venue or a job site, just to give you a heads up that it's already related to lots of other things. Okay, and then a couple other things we did. We made some changes to logistics tickets. They used to refer when you were doing them against a continued contract. It kept referring to things in the original parent contract that might not be applicable anymore. So we removed that kind of reliance on the parent contract when you're doing logistics tickets from a continued contract. And then lastly, we allowed the ability to define your accepted payment methods within the application so that you are aligned both at the counter payments and account payments as far as the payment types that you're willing to take. So if you don't take checks, you can remove that, and so nobody can take a check, and it just would not be an option. Okay, moving on. We did some integration work lately. So within here, you can go in and get an account with Twilio, which means you get a phone number that allows you to send SMS messages, notifications, I should say. So these automated notifications that happen different purposes and different reasons within the contract writing process and in the logistics processes to trigger notifications to be sent. And so we released this. One of the things we did around that was for customer-facing notifications. We updated the dispatch center notifications so you can really truly get that full end-to-end experience as far as sending consumers emails as the progression of the rental happens. So for instance, when the route gets confirmed, they can get a message. When the driver arrives on the job site and when they've departed. Additionally, the dispatcher also is supporting the text messages as well for late arrivals and late departures. I do want to make a call out that these here also work in coordination with these delivery notifications here. So this is the on my way. So this is when the driver is on their way. That's what will also trigger this one. And so working in conjunction, when you turn these on, and you have these set to be turned on, you really get an end-to-end notification process for your consumers to let them know every step of the way that the order's been confirmed and it's going to be there tomorrow at X time. And these also have functionality. You can really define exactly what these say, and you have all these tags available to really customize that notification to the consumer. Okay, and then we've also been doing some work to the Vertex Enhanced Flex fields as well. We added a couple of new fields for you there. Moving on to POR1, POR1 has got a really great new feature now called pre-check. And so pre-check is the idea, it really fulfills the whole circle of the life cycle of the checkout, check-in process. So pre-check is about making sure that the stuff you're going to be renting tomorrow or the next day is getting staged, quality inspected, making sure the right equipment is set aside for the driver or for a will call rental, making sure that the batteries are charged, the right bucket is on there, all of those kinds of things. And so a yard person can come in here and select on the pre-check. They're going to get the reservations for today and the next few days, and they can dive in there and they can serialize items, they can take pictures, they can just make sure everything is going okay. And then that leads then into the next process, which we have, which is the checkout, which memorializes the equipment when the consumer gets it, the check-in, which can then highlight damage that happened during the rental, and then of course the ready tag part that gets it ready to rent and back online, teed up for then, yep, you guessed it, the pre-check once again. So it's the full circle of life for equipment in POR1. A few other things we did in POR1 is we did some work to make sure that the routes were refreshing for drivers when changes were made to the route. So we got that working a little more effectively. And then as far as in the routes for the checkout, check-in process, it used to be that we would display both, but the checkout and the check-in, and let the driver decide. Well, now we've gotten made POR1 a little bit smarter for you, and we now understand whether it's a delivery or pickup, and we'll display the correct one for the driver. And so there's no mistakes being made there. Last thing in POR1 is the idea of work order assignments. And so from the work order page, if I am a technician and I have a work order assigned to me, it will show up under this assignments tab. It was showing closed work orders, but now we've filtered those out automatically, so you'll no longer see closed work orders in your assigned tab, which will help just clean that up quite a bit. And then lastly, for work orders, the other thing we did is when you're adding parts to a work order, it's going to automatically default filter to your store, your default store as an operator. You can change that, and you can add more stores if you'd like. You can look at both stores or flip over to store 2, however you want to do that. But the default filter will be for your default store. And then the last thing we got is we're rolling out time clock in POR1 now. I don't have any punches today. Let me go ahead and clock in. So that lets me clock in. I can see yesterday's punches. I can see today's punches. And this will work in concert with the Elite time clock feature. So you can clock in and out within Elite with using the community time clock or the regular time clock, or you can clock in and out on POR1, and it all will just work as expected. All right, and then the last thing I want to go over is just a few things we've done in the e-commerce portal. And so one thing we are allowing now is when you are in the e-commerce portal and you want to call things off rent, you can now do multiples. So if you say had 300 feet of fence on rent, now a customer can just off rent 100 feet of that. So that's a nice feature. Off rent 100 feet of that. So that's a nice, talked about, I want to have 25% of my collection within 30 days in advance. And then the other thing we did is in the setup for Let me go back here. In the setup for consumer portal, for an advanced setup, you can now set up your service request with its own unique email. And so offerings can go to one email, service requests can go to a different email, and that's really cool. That just helps a more efficient way of messaging back to the right people in your organization. And that is all I've got today for Elite, Pure One, and e-commerce. And then looking ahead to Q2, we've got a few things coming out, a little bit more advanced work in for an outside sales rep in Pure One to be able to create a quote. So we're looking forward to getting that out the door. And we also have a lot of exciting things happening with our e-com unified storefront. And so the ability to have a much more customized web experience is something that's exciting and coming soon in Q2.